And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 121st week. I've been doing this every Thursday night. This is HEX Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin, and I'm really excited. I know we're going to have a great episode tonight. Last week, 3,800 people tuned in, and I'm so excited tonight because there's even more to discuss. Last week, the market may have been in disbelief at the fact that the bull market may be back and the fact that PulseChain Testnet V3 was so close. And now it could very well be that many of you have switched gears into the hope phase. So we're going to talk about what that means in terms of the Wall Street cheat sheet of market emotions. But first, I want to do a run through of exactly what it is that I'm seeing when it comes to Testnet V3. Because like you, I've been trying to learn everything I can about this system, but I haven't seen a great amount of coverage on YouTube yet about it. And so I think you're going to find that you'll be able to learn something new here from this episode. So whether you're watching live or on the replay, smash the likes and leave a comment. And welcome to Hex Therapy Live, episode 121.
It's from Maddie ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Maddie ALLin's got that covered. He does emotional, feel good, mind management, emotion stuff, like as his gig, because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like, he helps heal people.
So we're not only going to talk about the PulseChain Testnet V3 and the alpha that I have for you in that area, we're also going to talk about the cycle of market emotions. Also, the SEC has come after Coinbase. So that's a really hot topic because I think Coinbase is going to fight back. What else do we have on the agenda for tonight? Oh yeah, I put ChatGPT-4 to work and it gave me a better explanation than ever of HEX T-shares explained in 6 different levels of sophistication, all the way from a child to somebody who's beyond an expert. So that's pretty exciting. I'm going to read that out tonight. And so, yeah, there's a lot to look forward to here in this episode. Thanks for being here, everybody. And thanks to everybody who's been sharing this content out and hitting the like button and the retweet button on Twitter. That really goes a long way. And I see people doing that not only for my posts, but for everybody else's posts as well. And that really helps our community look really good. And because we're the best community in crypto. So that's no secret. Now, yesterday, I had one of my best interviews I've ever had in my life. And I want to tell you about that first. So I was on Adam Stokes's channel. And those of you who have seen every episode of Richard Hart on YouTube, you know, all, I don't know, what does he have, like 250 interviews or something? Well, Adam, I think, is one of Richard's favorite people to do a stream with because they've done 3 streams together before. And, you know, of course, I think I may hold the title for the highest number of visits that Richard has made to any YouTube channel, with the number being 4 because of all the conferences that I've held. But so Adam really stands out to me because Richard has gone on his channel not because of a conference, but just because Adam rocks 3 different times. And Adam and I had an awesome interview. It was 4 o'clock his time in Australia, but for me, it was like from midnight to 2 a.m. But look, this guy, he's had Crypto 7 on, who I know is one of the favorites here in the Hex community. And Adam does a weekly roundup of all cryptocurrencies every week on Sundays and goes live to talk about security and other things that we all care so much about. And so, yeah, if you haven't caught it yet, you know, you can look up his channel, or if you want to see all the episodes that I appear on somebody else's channel, you can go to the community tab on YouTube, and that's where I've entered in all the interviews that I've done. And so if you're looking, because, you know, let's face it, I probably come across a little bit differently, and some people are going to like that style better to see me on somebody else's channel. So there you go. That's the interview I did yesterday. And of course, just yesterday is when Richard Hart announced that PulseChain V3 was going live. And that's the final version of the testnet. And so there are a few things that I will point out. All right. People already know that they already know kind of what they can see, but I tuned in right away. I noticed the HEX price was pumping. It ran all the way from 10 cents up to maybe 12.5 or 13 cents, somewhere in there. Then it fell back down in the past 24 hours, maybe all the way down to 9.5, I heard somebody say. And now I think it's sitting around 10.5 cents. And so that's pretty remarkable that the price of HEX since just before the HEX conference, when the SEC was like starting to harass everybody in HEX, that's when the price of HEX had fallen all the way to 1.7 cents. And now mainstream crypto channels like Crypto Banter, Ivan on Tech, and others are commenting that HEX is the best performing crypto asset of 2023. So we're off to a good start this year. So let's talk about the testnet. All right. So I've got some notes here. What I did is I started off by trying to do a swap, and immediately when it came out, swap wasn't working for me, and that surprised me a little bit, but I didn't panic too much. You know, and about an hour or two later, I discovered, basically I gave it a rest, and an hour or two later, I noticed that somebody commented. It might have been in Hex Token's stream, or maybe it was Randy Hilarski's stream. Somebody said that token to token swaps were working right off the bat, but that coin to token swaps, so PLS to other pairs, were not working right off the bat. And that's what I had been trying to do. But then a couple hours later, I discovered that they were working at that point. And so what somebody had hypothesized was going on there is that the reason that PLS to token swaps weren't working right off the bat is because there was a final sync that had to happen, and it happened right as people started to play around with the testnet. And so that could have given people a false sense. You know, you had people selling the news, you know, buying the rumor and selling the news. And you had some people who are just have been in a bear market so long that they're, you know, that they were looking to take some profits there. HEX being the best performing asset so far of 2023. But then you could have had some people selling because they were fearful that the chain wasn't working as intended. But then again, I mean, you know, somebody, you know, the Greg the Duck could have, you know, been planning all along to make it look a little buggy right when it started. Who knows? But the point is that you know, people who were trading that event may not have made out super well. But the people who had been holding for a long duration, I mean, look, there are still people who have stakes coming out and will have stakes coming out for many years into the future, and they bought at much lower prices. And then, of course, you have traders on top of that, which are doing their thing. And all markets need both long-term savers and short-term traders. And so, anyway, that was so that was the first challenge that I encountered with the PulseChain Testnet V3. But so far, from what I've seen, a lot of it is now working as intended, which is really awesome. We tested out I did a send to someone else and then received, and that worked right off the bat as well. You know, it's like the little things, but you want to make sure all that stuff is actually showing up right. And what we noticed when we tested that in Metamask is that Metamask wasn't registering all those trades. So you actually had to go to the block explorer, which, you couldn't just go to PulseChain.com. You had to go off of the links that Richard had tweeted out. And so let me share that tweet from Richard. I'm sure everybody's following him and everything, but that's where you get the links to go to the Testnet V3. I'll get to your questions here too. Just give me some time to dump what I know so far, right off the top of my head. So, and I'm going to talk about what's missing, and I'm going to talk about when I think we'll have more clues that PLS will launch, which is a big thing that everybody wants to talk about. But first of all, I want to make a really, really, really important point. Okay. And maybe I'll have to make this more than once, but remember, the whole point of PulseChain is for people to get a free copy. And if you or your loved ones or your enemies or Greg the Duck or anybody has coins on centralized exchanges, those people may not get their access to their free copy right away or at all. We don't know. But what we do know is that self-custody is a really important part of crypto. And look, self-custody is not without risk. So some people, they might do better at keeping their coins on a centralized exchange because maybe they're really prone to losing stuff, or, list any reason. We got 130 people watching right now. Oh, the number keeps shooting up. But anyway, the point is that there are some people in the world that are not ready for self-custody. But if you're one of those people who knows how to do self-custody, you already know how to do it safely and securely, and you're confident in your own behavior, then remember, you should probably get your coins off of centralized exchanges. And that will put you in a better position to get your free copy on PulseChain. It could very well be that when the fork when the fork/airdrop happens, that all the coins that are held by centralized exchanges, that they'll kind of go into limbo until that exchange decides legally what to do, until enough people come along and sue them to get the coins out. And that's what we've seen time and time again in crypto, that especially exchanges like Coinbase they intentionally choose to not let you have access to your free copy until you come along and sue them. And so again, like, just a warning, if you have like any ERC20 tokens on a centralized exchange and you're competent in taking self-custody, now is the time, because what Richard has announced is that it could be any moment that the PulseChain mainnet launches, now that the testnet is out there. So that's interesting and important to understand, right? Is like, that's the main point, is like, get your coins off centralized exchanges if you can. And if you don't yet have a Trezor hardware wallet, then get one. I have a link in the description. It doesn't cost you any more to use my referral link, and it helps the channel. But even more importantly, it shows me that I'm making a difference. And I've already seen a bunch of people who have made the purchase, and that's how they're practicing being safe and secure and getting ready for PulseChain, which seems like it's right around the corner. And so again, like, go to the link in the description to get your Trezor hardware wallet, because that's an important part of having your crypto secured. For a lot of people, and I explained this on Adam Stokes' channel, for a lot of people, that's like one of the most important things that you'll do once PulseChain goes live, is that you might choose to increase your security posture. And so, for example, let's say that you sacrificed from a wallet that wasn't generated through only using a hardware wallet. So let's say even if you migrated your seed that was generated through Metamask and like was shown on your computer screen or on your phone, that could be compromised. It's like somewhat unlikely that it is, but it's still, before the mad gains sweep you away, and then all of a sudden you get crushed. And I've known now at least 2 people who have had multi-millions of dollars worth of crypto stolen from them. One was through social engineering, and another one was through not storing their seed words safely. And so I don't want that to happen to anybody else. Look, and the development of my product to help people stop from getting hacked is also coming along really, really well. I'm really excited to update people on that here at some point. But I just want to keep on with the information about like what you need to do to prepare for PulseChain going live, because that's really a time sensitive thing. And these Trezor wallets, they will arrive. Mine came in like maybe a week, maybe it was like less than 10 days. And that's an international shipment that has to go through customs, and the tracking on it suggested that it was going to take way longer, that it wasn't getting here. But sure enough, I got my batch of like 6 or 8 that I ordered recently, and that'll help a lot of my onboards who have sacrificed for PulseChain and have HEX, that it continues to be more and more valuable. Okay, so here's a really good point about a clue about when PLS will launch. Remember, right when Richard was saying in his tweets that it could launch at any moment, he also gave a clue that it would be likely that you would see a test bridge be opened, and that would allow people to bridge in some stablecoin he mentioned. I can't remember which one, but that would then give everything a price that's not denominated in HEX or whatever. And a lot of people have been speculating as like what the price of PulseChain and PulseX will open at based on the ratio of what people are trading on the V3 testnet. But you could have missed this critical detail, which I am only reporting to you. I can't give you really any new information because that would have to come from Richard directly. But that's what I'm paying attention to is it seems like there was a clue that the testnet bridge would be open. I think that's called Pulse Ramp. And then there have been some reports on Twitter as well of like a couple other things, 2 or 3 things that are missing. And so I want to bring this to your attention as well to make you super informed about like what people are saying and what the situation here is with the testnet. Because as far as I can tell, it looks like stuff's working. It didn't work in the first couple hours. Now it is. So we might see that the bridge will be open before PLS goes live. Another thing that people are curious about is why the PLSX buy and burn button is missing. That button had been seen in previous testnets and it isn't showing up on the V3. Now, your guess is as good as mine as to whether somehow that's been taken out. Maybe it'll operate in some other way behind the scenes, or maybe it's just not rolled out yet. Right. So that's a mystery. That's something that we don't have the answer to yet, as far as I know. And then another thing that seems to be missing is limit orders. And that's, I think, also something that we saw. I think that's something else that we saw in our previous testnet that isn't showing up in this one. And so, again, it's a situation where will that be rolled out in the initial version, or will that come later? Your guess is as good as mine, but these are important questions to be asking ourselves, right? And sure, Richard could say, just kidding, we didn't need to test out the bridge, or the bridge testing was private, and now we're in mainnet. But so far, what he said, if we're going off of what he said, that's still missing. So those are like 3 things that are missing: the bridge, the buy and burn button, and the limit orders. A 4th thing that many of us would like to see that is also missing is commas. There are no commas yet. Although then again, somebody did show a screenshot that had commas. So I'm not sure if commas are still missing, but I see in my screen that I'm showing, there are commas missing. So that's something that, we'd like to see. We don't know that we're going to get it, but there's been a Wendy's for Tennies proposal put in, over a year ago or something. So boom, that's so that's kind of the coverage that we have so far on PulseChain and the V3. And I can share my screen here, I guess, and just show you. I was right. By the way, I was right that this front end looks very, 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 very similar to what we saw in Testnet V2. And I kept saying that that's probably what our impression is going to be of Testnet V3, is that the differences that we're seeing are a lot behind the scenes. And so that's kind of interesting. But even though many of you have seen this, yep, see the commas are still missing right here in this balance of this test account I have. There's this liquidity thing that I don't fully understand. And if people go back and look through when we had the liquidity expert on, you might be able to learn more from that episode of Game Theory Gang that we had from 2 or 3 weeks ago. And here's an example of where I was clicking through on the buttons, and it ended up with some of these tokens that are pairing PLSX and PLS in this liquidity. But I'm not sure if this is susceptible to impermanent loss, which would make me not want to do this in real life. So those are some of the things that I was playing around with. There's a beautiful, beautiful checklist here of how to become a validator with super clear instructions, and this like whole checklist that is super long and that you can run through and find all the things that you need to download and install and get running and all the warnings and everything that you need. So that's a beautiful guide. I don't know that we had seen that before, but of course, about a week and a half ago now, we had Gamma DevOps, and that's the person who appears to be like leading the community in learning how to set up a PulseChain validator. So if you missed that episode, go back and check out that one if you're interested in being a validator. By the way, David Feeder is back, and a lot of people missed him. Of course, he used to be a regular on the Tuesday night show for 3 or 4 months at least, maybe 6 months. And he hadn't posted in months and months. Well, he made a short YouTube video yesterday announcing that he's back in the community, that, everything was fine, but he was taking a break and now he's back. He's excited to practice being a validator and to use the PulseChain testnet. So, get excited that David Feeder is back in the mix, because I know he's a favorite amongst a lot of different hexagons. The Testnet V3 Explorer shows that that the chain is coming along. It's functioning properly. Blocks are being discovered, and the amount of transactions continues to go up. It looks like on March 23rd, there have been 75,000 transactions per day. Now, under trading, there's the PulseX exchange, there's the liquidity pools, and then there's also under the earn tab, there are farms and there are pools. And when you set this up initially, it looks like it's not working, and maybe that has gotten better now as this whole thing has gotten rolled out. But for me, it didn't look like I was earning anything at first. It looked like I clicked on something and then I couldn't get the coins back out. And so again, this is another example of something I didn't degen on Binance chain, so I don't really understand this in great detail, but I've played around with it so that I can understand that I probably want to stay away from it. And look, you can still use you can still use the testnet after the mainnet comes out. Pro tip. And that reminds me, you know, Richard did tweet that PulseChain testnet is better, or, you know, is it better than the Ethereum 2.0 testnet? And in some ways, yeah, it is way better. So that's a huge accomplishment that's happened to now. I don't see any action happening here in the PLSX pools. But under the farming, I did earn some like super minor amount of INC token, the incentive token. So that's kind of cool. So anyway, I know that a lot of people, you know, are going to be way more knowledgeable about all of those options. And, you know, you're going to be following people like Randy Hilarski, K4K, and others who will do tutorials that will guide you through all of this. For me, I am not so interested. I'm more of a buying and holding and dollar cost averaging in and out of things. It is interesting to look at the ratio of what people are swapping on testnet between PLS and PLSX. For example, right now, one PLS token would trade for 4.6 PLSX tokens. And of course, we have no idea what this looks like or what this means in relation to like reality. And there's every kind of incentive out there for people to maybe manipulate this so they can game the actual launch. But you can see here it shows up as $0. Let me see if I increase the balance. See, this is where we would see a pulse ramp being bridged in and having stable coins that are showing up here. That would probably give the price there, instead of $0, it would show up as a certain amount of dollars that represents the amount of liquidity that's been bridged in, that's backing these two tokens in particular. So that's another important thing, I think, to point out. Cool. Yeah, so get your coins off of centralized exchanges. If you can, use the Trezor in the description below to move your coins to. After you do a test transaction, and you want to do all this like very carefully, but if you've generated your seed words on something that is not as secure as it could be, then you can use a hardware wallet. And once PulseChain goes to mainnet, then you can transfer your PLS and PLSX and any other tokens. You can transfer them into the hardware wallet address where the seed words have only ever been seen on this screen right here. And they've never shown up on your phone, which could have spyware on it. They've never shown up on your computer. You've never typed them into a keyboard. So that's all really important. Thanks. We just broke 200 people. Hit the like and subscribe button. There's still so many awesome things to point out in this stream. And if you're just joining, maybe go back and listen on 2X and catch up here, because this is all building on different points. So okay, and then I'm gonna jump to the chat here so that we can finish up the discussion about PulseChain Testnet V3, and then I'll go into the other topics that we have for today that I think are also gonna be really insightful. So here, there's a question that says, can you bring up the Metamask update for approving max spending permissions? Fees, like another extra fee transactions added now. Okay, I know what you're talking about, and here is an important point. So Hexologist today reported that that this is something new that's on PulseChain testnet. Well, it's also on Ethereum mainnet. Okay, so this is an update that's been pushed to Metamask itself, and so this is not a Testnet V3 or a PulseChain specific change. And what you're seeing is that you've always had to approve a token to spend it through a smart contract. But what's different now is, instead of it just asking you for an infinite number of tokens practically, or like the total max supply of all the tokens that have ever existed for that, or some number that's really close to the maximum that could ever exist on the blockchain. They are suggesting that people click a button to say whatever their total balance is the max spend amount that's being approved in that moment. And the reason why this is so important of a change is it does increase people's security, because imagine how an inexperienced user, they might, let's say you go in a time machine and you go back 2 years and you buy like 1 million HEX tokens. Okay. And then maybe you go back in your time machine even more, and then you buy like 5 million HEX tokens, right? So if you approved an infinite number of tokens, maybe at first you were only putting 1 million at risk, and then now you've added to the same wallet instead of using a different address, maybe because you're sensitive to Ethereum gas fees and you don't want to do another transaction that's going to approve more coins. Well, this change is making it basically so that if you're using the same wallet and you approve a certain amount, then you're not going to be able to come back later and lose even more coins than you had to start with in the beginning. So I think it's a cool change. I'm kind of happy with it. I do agree that it's a little bit gas inefficient. But I think that that's a trade-off that maybe they made at MetaMask. And look, I know a developer who's like really mad at Wallet Connect and MetaMask and all these Apple. I mean, all these things are not working very well together, and like stuff has been breaking kind of on the decentralized front end side of things. But that'll all get fixed in time, I think. But it's a good testament to why we need to be noticing the changes that are out there and understanding why stuff is working a little bit differently than it had before. I think this MetaMask update is pretty cool, but it's curious and coincidental, I believe, that it came out at the same time that a PulseChain Testnet V3 did. MetaMask has also been updating a lot of other stuff. They totally reworked their interface for mobile wallets. And so, for example, now there's a whole tab at the bottom that allows you to go into browser instead of having to choose it from like a drop-down menu and all this stuff. So they're really setting themselves up to be more plugged in to Web3 and to be able to go to different decentralized applications, which is great. That's what they should be doing, a lot more of that as well. Melv Tony says the price of HEX is 10.6 cents. It sure is on a great run compared to months past. If you're looking at the 1 minute chart, then it's maybe not doing as well as it was yesterday at this time, but now it's doing great on a bigger time scale. So, okay, somebody added the commas in Photoshop. That's where I saw the screenshot that was no good or not real yet, but good in the sense that that's what we want to see. We want to see commas. Come on. Looking forward to today's program. Awesome. Thanks, Piston Broke, Jason Smith, and we're live. Hopper Man. That's probably what the Hopper multiple is named after. Very cool. Thanks for showing up. V3 isn't enough. When is PulseChain? Yeah, I think I've already answered that tonight, that we should see probably a bridge be open on testnet before we get that. Let's see. Nice to have the big raise recently. That's right. Miners keep doubling their production. Interesting. HEX is turning heads. That is for sure. I won Randy's giveaway and also won Crypto 7's watch giveaway. Wow, Sanddip is the lucky winner there. Bring on the Sun Well syndrome, Maddie. That's right. Yeah, I'm going to have to talk about that more and more now that we're moving back into a bull market, right? Yeah, people who hate HEX are looking at it now. I'm going to look for questions here to see if anybody else has any comments. Hey, there's Bitfinesse, one of the most productive hexkins out there. I performed amazingly today, so I've allowed myself 45 seconds to clean my lenses and post here. Never sell cartel. There you go. Bitfinesse being Bitfinesse. Crypto Compassion, Crypto Gains Club. Good to see you all. Kincaid Honey. Good to see you. There's a number of people here who are going to be going to the meetup that I'm doing at the Bitcoin conference in Miami. I will keep selling tickets for only a limited time more. And I'm really happy with the number of people who have already bought tickets. I'm putting a total cap at 120, but that might come down. I might do many fewer tickets than that. But I think 50 or 60 have already been sold. So that's kind of the sweet spot that I wanted. And so this is going to be a much more exclusive meetup than we did last time when we had 555 people show up to the HEX conference. This is going to be more of a meetup style thing at the Bitcoin conference. And so people can go to hexpomiami.com now to get your ticket for that. And if you have a ticket to the Bitcoin conference, they also released after party tickets. Last year, the after party was included. This year, I think it's separate. So people can look at it and see if they want to go to that. And I'll have more announcements about Hexpo Miami in the next week. The duck is sometimes the devil. That's right. I love Adam Stokes. And you found Hex listening to his channel. Very cool. Very cool. Welcome. Can you talk about what you know about staking PLS or PLSX? Is there risk involved besides price action? That's a great question. I don't have the answer to that. I'm concerned about impermanent loss. I think we need answers to that before we go giving away all of our tokens. Would you stake or farm? I'm planning to not get involved in all that right off the bat. I want to see how it goes for other people. I don't care if other people make more money than me by taking more risk. I would rather be a more long-term player. And my plan for what I'm going to do, I think, is that I'm going to take about half of my tokens and I'm just going to lock them in the time pays me smart contract that I'm creating. And that's been working really well on private testnet. And now we're at the point where we're just about ready to get an audit and then, publish. I think that you might see PulseChain come out for maybe a week or two before Time Pays Me comes out, or Time Pays Me might come out first. It's unclear. Good evening. Looking forward to Miami. That's what's up. Hit the like and subscribe. That is right. Hit the bell. I don't normally say that. Yep, I like Trezor better than Ledger. And I'll tell you something, Hex, Sean. The marketing has been so equal between these two products that in my head, like when I first started messing around with hardware wallets years ago, in my head, I didn't even know which one was which, because literally every influencer or every broadcaster that you see in crypto says Trezor or Ledger. Anytime they bring up one, they have to talk about the other two, because they both have very competitive referral programs. Basically, I get, I don't know, what is it, like $8 or $9 for every Trezor that somebody buys. But for me, I want to make it simpler for people. Trezor is what I use. And so I don't want to tell people Trezor or Ledger. I want people to use what I'm using, or, or you're already knowing so much that you don't need my help. I don't have anything against Ledger other than I just want people to be using the one that I find easiest to use. And I've had all these. I've had the special edition ledgers, that are made for the Bitcoin pizza day. And I've had the wireless one with my phone. I've tested them all out. Well, not all of them. I haven't had the super expensive ones with like the giant screen and stuff like that. And then the stacks, that just sounds stupid. Papa B said to stay away from that one. So yeah, I like the I like this symbol Trezor that I have linked to in the description below. A V3 tutorial today, kind of, yeah. Well, I really wanted to give people a briefing on what I'm looking for to know when we're getting closer to PLS launching, and that would be to see the bridge open on testnet. We're missing the PLS X buy and burn button. Maybe we won't get that. Maybe we will. Limit orders. Maybe we'll get that. Maybe we won't. There is no snapshot. There's just a fork. Okay. And then people reading into the idea that RLS or RH saying that PLS may open soon. That is not a reference to the month of May. I'm sorry. That is, I can picture Richard checking his phone and just like rolling his eyes, like making a mental note to never use the word May ever again because people are so stupid. This is not a situation where he is timing the market. He is checking everything off the list so that he can launch as quickly as possible. He's said that over and over and over again. Richard doesn't say things with so much conviction, like he's going to launch it when it's ready. He wouldn't have been saying that for multiple years now, for almost 2 years, if that wasn't true, okay? We have enough history built up with this guy. We know he just wouldn't say it that way if he didn't have to. And sure, you can read a lot into his messages. I understand that, okay? And there's really great analysis. Your friend Sami and Silver the Antidote are like, you know, RH whisperers when it comes to like decoding his messages, right? Like, I can see that, okay? But I don't believe this one. This one doesn't work the same way that other like hidden messages do. It's not a hidden message is my take. It might take until May, but him saying that is not a clue because he doesn't want people to time the market. So he wouldn't, because that would cause manipulation by traders. And there's been proof all along in HEX that it doesn't seem like the founder really wants manipulation to be occurring in the market. Like there's a clear history of Greg the Duck and Richard the founder and lots of other people, you know, like being responsible, in my opinion, when it comes to doing this balancing act between like, you have to tell people, you know, that HEX could do a 10,000x, and he said that, and then it did do that in 656 days after it launched and after he said it before launch. And you know, so that's an example. The big payday is an example. The Pulse sacrifice, as I've said before, is an example of where the origin address did its job to protect the system no matter how unpopular, and like did not give people clues of that along the way so that they could game the market. And that it's kind of viewed also as a more responsible way to play within the rules of the world financial system if you don't, you know, tell your friends, hey, here's some like insider information or something, or like you don't give these clues. So I'll leave it there that like, you know, I'll put my foot in my mouth if RH comes out and does a live stream and he says like, I wonder who understood my secret message about May, right? And there, you know, I understand that there's a meme of Richard saying that PulseChain would come out last May, and then everybody's like having the maximum amount of cope possible to like to like, you know, yell from the rooftops, oh, RH really meant next year, and he didn't say what year when he said May. But look, he's publicly admitted that he thought it was going to launch in May of last year. Okay. So again, I appreciate the effort. Okay. I appreciate the effort of people reading into the tweets this much. I think it's too much. So we would want commas to show like when you're doing a swap or when you're looking at your balance and that sort of thing. Here to listen and learn. Hey, it's the brother of Johnny Chaos. Follow him on Twitter if you want. What is up? Can you still farm incentive tokens in PulseX V3? It would be a little bit confusing to say PulseX V3 without throwing the word testnet in there, because PulseX is a fork of Uniswap version 2. And Uniswap has a version 3 that is very different than version 2. And so I just want to point that out for anybody who otherwise would get lost by these overlapping technical terms. But can you still farm incentive tokens in the testnet version 3 of PulseX? Yeah, I think I showed that on screen, where you can get the incentive token at least. And there are other earn things that are not open yet, or that I can't see on the pool side of things. But on the farm side of things, it looks like that is, like I said before, partially working or working fully. I'm not sure, because I don't use that historically. Most of my experience, Cody Lane says, is degenning on BSC. There you go. Farm hopping. Thanks for streaming. Hey, my pleasure. Yeah, do a test transfer first, like $1 when you're moving your coins once PulseChain goes live for security reasons. If you need to do that, then be very careful. I think I heard Dollar Cost Crypto say that he heard of somebody, or was it, I can't remember now, maybe it was X-Ray Vision, or somebody was saying that they knew somebody who copy and pasted. It was Randy Hilarski. That's who it was. He said that somebody copy and pasted, and their paste button accidentally changed the last letter or one of the letters in between there, and they lost $10,000 or more, something crazy. So look, even I want to say even like the origin address to test transactions. Like and share right now. The Hex Nation is getting exciting. Would you wait another 2 months for commas? No, I can insert the commas mentally myself if it would take any time at all. I won't get cheap Hex anymore for 3 cents. I guess it's up to the whales, but it's not looking imminent. Who in their right mind is selling right now? Are they traders, not paying attention, haters? Yeah, I would say probably all of the above. People who are dollar cost averaging out, people who have not taken profits in the past year and a half. All kinds of people could be selling right now, and I would view that as an opportunity for the people who want to be buying now. You know, it's you know, for me, 95% of my coins are time locked. The rest are you know, meant to be there to you know, yeah, I want to sell my coins at a good price, and I don't think the best price has come along yet, but you got to kind of just wait and see. What's your opinion on PHEX when PulseChain launches? I think it's going to do really well. I think both copies are going to be valuable, and I don't have a specific price target in mind. I mean, going back to the last point, who's selling? I think it's a huge opportunity loss, but not everybody's going to manage their risk the same way. You know, there are people who are happy to give others the opportunity. Newbie question, PLS is the gas used to swap on the PulseX contract, correct? If that is right, how can we swap tokens post-bridge if we do not have any PLS? I think they're going to give everybody a little bit of PLS, or there will be a faucet, or you'll be able to go to freepulse.io or whatever. We know that there are going to be either community faucets or a distribution to everybody. And remember, all you need to do a swap is like 2 beats. And a beat is like 1/100 millionth of a Pulse token. And if you have 1 Ethereum, you will get 1 Pulse token. So even if you have like, let's say 0.01 ETH, you'll get copied over 0.01 Pulse. And to do a transaction, all you need is 0.0000001, I think. So look, I think everybody's gonna be pretty okay. And that's actually a great question. Even if you're new or you're old, that's a great question to be asking. Good job, David. Has anyone looked into the AMM bot performance? Did it harvest all liquidity on all PRC20s or only the ones that show up in PulseX? That's a great question. I saw something where I had missed an RH tweet from like 17 days ago, something like that. And Alex from Hedron had just commented a couple days ago, giving Richard was asking for a solution to the issue of the V3 liquidity, how the AMM bot should handle that, and how it should handle NFTs. And Richard was saying in his tweet from 3 weeks ago, he was saying, like, if you want PulseChain to come out faster, you need to give actionable points to this question, that's awesome. I didn't realize that he asked for input again. And so I think what Alex had written was a really complicated and interesting answer. I think it basically came down to the idea of looking at the ratios of market cap in what people are actually providing liquidity for on V3 and just making sure that you could skip something that looks suspicious, or you could just put a cap on the amount that could be traded. And so this is a super nuanced question, but the AMM bot, it was run right before PulseChain went live. The testnet went live, according to Richard, in their private testing, because that's what was happening for 2 or 3 days before we just got V3 yesterday. So, and the amount of liquidity that it's playing with, remember, is something like 6 or 7% of the supply of most tokens. That's the average amount of liquidity providing that occurs, at least on the V2 side of things. In V3, it sounds like Richard was looking for input like 3 weeks ago, before he ended up running the tests that he ran. My observation is that this will be a situation where scaling in is important for the Fixer bot. And look, it doesn't have to get everything perfect. It really doesn't. Remember, V3 liquidity is kind of like limit orders. And so it is questionable, like, how that would be treated differently by the bot. And with NFTs, I mean, it's a whole nother question that I'm not sure I really have the answer for, but I bookmarked the tweet, so people who want to do more research on that, let me drop it for you. Yeah, Richard tweeted this on March 7th. I can bring it up in the view as well. I dropped this into the comment section. Richard said, how should the AMM bot handle Uniswap V3 and NFTs? If you want PulseChain.com to launch faster, go ahead and put your well thought out actionable answers in there. Uni V2 is easy, 1 million times the PRC20 price, but V3 and NFT not so easy. So bid proportionally to bid liquidity, question mark. Oh, and then I didn't read this part down here. He said, pretend the V3 bid side was V2 shaped and buy up that amount into the V3 asks best edge case, comma, gaming detection, question mark. He said this has to be solved now to create the pairs in PulseX to have LP reward token and LP fees incentivize ERC20 bridged in liquidity paired with free PRC20 copies to on-ramp maximum users and bring maximum value to the ecosystem. That bot has to run the first transactions on the network. If only being told release Pulse hourly, answer these critical must be answered questions before mainnet. And then he said, life imitates art, and somebody is hounding him, please release. Yeah. So I completely missed this, this whole thread. But that's fascinating. That's a super advanced topic. I know a lot of people watch these shows to get advanced knowledge. So I hope I've pleased the audience by going into that level of detail. PulseX operates on PulseChain. Think of it as Ethereum. So yes, PLS is the gas. Hey, Maddie, on my computer, my PulseX screen looks just like V2. When I go into the page, I see transactions, but everything shows 0. Okay, so any transaction that you did on the V2 testnet is not going to show up now on V3. So like it went back to a January 26th copy of the blockchain. So if you're using an address that had any Ethereum at that time, you will have a tiny little amount of PLS. If you sacrificed from an address, you'll have the token showing up there. If you went to PulseChain.com and clicked the links to go to the testnet, you're still on V2B. You have to go to the tweet from Richard that gives the instructions on how to access V3. And you'll see in the domain name which version you're on. So here I've got scan.v3.testnet.pulsechain.com. Here I've got launchpad.v3.testnet.pulsechain.com. Here I've got app.v3.testnet.pulsex.com. And if I went to pulsechain.com, then I would see that these links here are going to V3 now. Cool. That's an update. Oh, it says try to bridge over assets. Whoa. You guys, this is part of the thing I've been saying we were waiting for, to see the PulseChain bridge come online. Wow. Okay, cool. And they're using Wrinkleby as the testnet that bridges to that. Too bad it's not go early because I have a bunch of coins there. But that's big news. That should get people excited. Yesterday, this was not updated to the V3 versions of everything. Good work, team. So make sure you're on V3 in the domain name, and then make sure you're in the right wallet, and make sure that you have the right test network selected. And so the chain ID for this has to be 942. And if you're in Metamask like me and you still have testnet V2B in there, it's named the same. It says PulseChain testnet, and it doesn't say V3 or V2. So if you go into your MetaMask and make sure you're in the right network, it might be the one that is named the same, but is not the one that you're currently on. Anyone else wish they sacrificed more? Good question. I, of course, wish that I did, but I'm pretty happy with what I did because I made a significant sacrifice. Not as much as lots of other people because all my hex was mostly time locked at that point already anyway, but yep. Hex Monkey, good to see you. Hey gang, much Hexican love to all. I've had Trezor sitting in my drawer for a while without setting it up. Now I can do it with confidence. Yay. We already talked about whether it'd be May. It's gonna be May. It's like the NSYNC song. So sell on May and go away. The TradFi rule. Okay. V3 is great. 3 weeks, 6 days, 9 hours. Who knows? Again, you can refer to my earlier point where I said this is not a game. The releasing time is not a game. No person gets an advantage of mainnet launch. Exactly. Do you think there will be a faucet for my new onboards when mainnet goes live for gas? Yes, absolutely. Freepulse.io. So are the incentive and LP tokens from farming test tokens? Okay. Will the test farms carry over to mainnet or need to be restarted? The test farms will not carry over. The incentive token and LP tokens are showing up as far as I can tell, but they will not carry over onto mainnet. What's exciting is low fees. Exactly. I thought I would have to give up an arm and a leg when I first got into Hex in December of 2021. I totally agree. Coming to you from the Grow Live Academy. Hey, that's great. It sounds like you've been watching another streamer. Hi, can you tell me how I can contact Richard Hart? I'm the chairman of the German Party for Rejuvenation Research. My party would like to hang up election posters with a photo of Richard. You can message him on Telegram and see if he responds. Start there. Or you could tweet at him and see if other people retweet it. No, it won't be copied over. Good cross-pollination stream last night with Adam Stokes. Was it just by chance that V3 launched? Yes, we had scheduled it a couple days at least in advance. And so it was good luck there. Maddie, I've noticed that the GUI is not up to par. It would be nice to see it updated to its full potential before too long. Okay, what is it that you saw that wasn't up to par? I've liked the UI so far. But it wasn't working right away. In the first couple hours, there were multiple errors that were being caused by the sync not being fully there. And I had speculated that might be to cause traders to freak out, or it might have just been part of how the testnet came to be. On testnet, the incentive tokens are worthless. Yes. Everything on testnet is worthless. And I'm speaking just with what I've learned. And so I can't give you advice. Like if you destroy all your testnet tokens and then, something unpredictable happens where that actually does become mainnet. I mean, I would put that in less than a 1% chance of happening. I'd put that in less than a 0.5% chance of happening. To import a token to Testnet V3, all you have to do is have the ETH token contract address. Correct. Or here's an even quicker hack is like if you go here and let's say if you go to trade and then exchange, and then if I trade like one pulse and then choose that I want to swap into, let's say, HEX, or let's just say incentive token because I don't have that yet, I can click swap and I can hit confirm, and then I hit confirm in Metamask, and then there's a button here to add ink incentive token to Metamask, and so that's like that's a cool fast way to add something when you literally don't care about the 2/100 millionths of a pulse that it's costing you to like do a swap. Anyway. Fixer bot is a complicated topic for sure. Thanks for the info. My pleasure. Has the snapshot happened yet? Where can you find on V3 testnet? V3 is the version of the Ethereum blockchain that was synced up until January 26th. And but that's not how the fork works. The fork will be up until that current block, as far as we can estimate. In all likelihood, there is only a fork block, not a snapshot, because a snapshot I know refers to like an airdrop, but this is something that's in between a fork and an airdrop, technically speaking. A system state copy. With the bridge in place, we should see values on the test tokens now. That's a great point. But somebody would have to actually use it and click, they'd have to click the buttons. And I just noticed that it had appeared recently. And so somebody would have to go in and look on the Block Explorer and see if anybody's using that pulse ramp. And that'll be something exciting for people to report on Twitter and other places. So definitely, yeah, somebody look into that. Yeah, this is really exciting to notice that pulse ramp being linked off of PulseChain.com already. If we lose our Trezor, do we lose access to our crypto? When you set up your Trezor, you're wanting to write down your 24 seed words, and probably write it down in more than one place. And then if you want to get even more advanced, you can buy a kit to put the letters into a steel plate, and then that'll be resistant to fires and floods. And then if you want to get more advanced than that, you would use Shamir's protocol, Shamir's secret sharing protocol, and that would allow you to split up the same. It would allow you to split up portions of your seed phrase into two pieces that have to come together in order to make the entire seed phrase. And then you would have duplicates of those in multiple locations. And so look up how to make one of those. And basically, like if you have, let's say you have 12 words, or the same would work for 24, you take the first third of the list and the last third of the list, and that becomes one key. Then you put that in one location, and then you have another location. You take the first third and the second third, and then you pick a third location, and then you take the second third and the third third. And basically what that does is it allows you to have any 2 of 3 locations come together and create the seed phrase. But then your seed phrase is never sitting just in one location. And you can still have a Trezor that you can access that has the seed phrase on it, but it's not viewable. And so that's a really advanced security posture for somebody to have, to where you could have one location compromised and it wouldn't lose your seed words to somebody or to a disaster. And then you still have access to your crypto via the Trezor that you just can't regenerate. But if you lose or damage your Trezor, then you would just get a new Trezor, and then you would load the seed words in using the actual device and not typing the words into your keyboard, which could be compromised. There's lots of ways that people can hack your system without you knowing it. Maddie, are you still in Chicago? Do you guys do any meetups? Would love to connect with other Hexicans. I'm not in Chicago area right now, but I think that Johnny Chaos is going to have a meetup in the next month or two. That will be not necessarily in Chicago, but maybe within an hour away. So that's really cool. Maddie, are you up for being on some podcasts? I have a lot of interviews scheduled that people have been asking me to do, but people can let me know what the opportunities are, and I can kind of plan it out over time. I'm open to it, but not having tons of free time. Your copy will not be the same price on PulseChain. No. A lot of times airdrops trade for like 1% of the original value, but in this case, it's totally up to the market, just like always. I hope we get wallet coin. I think there will be a sacrifice for that. I'd be happy to be wrong. If it just got airdropped to everybody, that'd be pretty cool too. But you see, a sacrifice is almost more valuable because it takes the HEX supply and the PulseChain supply and the PulseX supply and gets it out of hands that could sell it. They would have the incentive to sell it, because the sacrifice addresses can sell stuff. I mean, they do. They sold all the coins that were not HEX and stable coins for stable coins originally. Try refreshing the page and see if the values show up. Good idea. Nope, still no values. Prices will not be the same. Ledger is still safe. They're both industry leading. Titanium is recommended, I believe. So excited, feels so close and so real. Watched you with Adam, stellar job. Hey, thanks. How do you lock the Ethereum network bridge to PulseChain network in preparation for converting HEX into PulseX? I haven't tested that yet. So I'm not sure, but I'll be very curious to see how that works. And hey, I might even do a special episode about it if I think nobody else is covering it. But also, I hope somebody else covers it, because teamwork makes the dream work. Brother of Chaos, we will get copies, the same amount of our coins on PulseChain, but they will not be the same price. that's a good job explaining that. All right. Well, as promised, so now we've covered the V3 part of the thumbnail. What's next? Well, I've got a lot of other topics to cover. The SEC has come after Coinbase, and this was just yesterday that they got a Wells notice. And it's really remarkable because Coinbase has said that they've done so much to try to get along with the SEC. Let me see here. I've got the bookmark for the tweet. Probably. Maybe it's under my liked tweets. I'm going to check those. I like a lot of stuff, so it's going to take me a second here. Oh, there's big news with ChatGPT. Apparently, it opened its own app store where you can browse the web and write and run Python. You can write third-party plugins for a bunch of different apps like Wolfram Alpha and Instacart. Apparently, it's a big deal because everybody's freaking out about it and saying it's pretty good. Okay, here we go. Found it. Coinbase news. So this is Coinbase's lead lawyer. And this is a blog post that they wrote, and then they broke it into a thread that is 15 different tweets. It's really good, so I might go ahead and just read it here. Coinbase received a Wells notice from the SEC. After years of asking for reasonable crypto rules, we're disappointed that the SEC is considering courts over constructive dialogue. But if courts are required, so be it. We'll defend the rule of law. 3.3 million impressions on this tweet. 400 bookmarks, 2,200 retweets, 8,600 likes. Over the past 9 months, Coinbase has met with the SEC more than 30 times. So I would like to point out that they were meeting like almost 3 times a month. Sharing the details. So that's almost every week that they were sharing the details of their business to build a path to registration. During this time, the SEC hasn't given basically any feedback on what to change or how to register. Instead, today we received a Wells notice. When Coinbase filed to go public in 2021, our S1 described our business in much detail, including 57 references to staking and details on our asset listing process. The SEC approved us to go public, knowing these details. Now they've changed their mind on what is allowed. In 2018, we acquired 2 broker-dealer licenses in an effort to become regulated by the SEC. These licenses are currently dormant, and we've been unable to activate them with the SEC for digital asset securities. Last July, we filled out a petition with the SEC calling for more regulatory clarity. We have yet to receive a response to our petition. For comparison, over many years, we've been able to successfully become a licensed and regulated crypto business in a number of other jurisdictions around the world, including Singapore, Ireland, Australia, and Germany. We've also been able to successfully become regulated by another US federal regulator, obtaining our DCM and DCO license from the CFTC, and by many US state regulators. The SEC remains a sole outlier here. We don't list securities. Of the thousands plus crypto assets Coinbase has reviewed over the years, only roughly 240 of those have met our standards to list on our platform. We believe a large number of crypto securities also exist, and should be available to register and trade on SEC registered brokerages and exchanges, a point we've made repeatedly in our discussions. The truth is that today there is no clear rule book for the SEC from the SEC on crypto, and efforts to engage with the SEC are met with silence or enforcement actions. They have not followed a good faith rulemaking process with the industry as required under the APA. At times, the SEC and CFTC don't agree on the definition of a commodity or a security. For instance, the CFTC chair has said Ethereum was a commodity, while the SEC chair has hinted Ethereum might be a security. Even when giving us our Wells notice, the SEC wouldn't specify assets, giving them concern or what specific arguments that we've made on staking are wrong. Instead, we were simply told to consider the chair's generic statements. It is hard to throw the rulebook at an entire economic sector when there is no rulebook, and the people responsible for the rulebook can't even agree themselves what the rulebook should say, even as we have asked for a rulebook. So what happens next? We avail ourselves of the court system to finally start to get some clarity for the crypto industry in the US. Ironically, establishing some case law may be our best shot at getting the regulatory clarity that the industry deserves. You can see the Wells notice for yourself here. We welcome more clarity. Awesome. So definitely check that out. I can't remember if I dropped it in the chat, so I'm going to throw it in there now. Let's see. Okay, then the next part of the program is going to be what all this, basically where we're at in the cycle of market emotions, or the Wall Street cheat sheet. And so I've got a few points to make. And this, I'm not sure if this was part of the reason why the episode last week was so popular, that 3,800 people tuned in. But look, in a bear market, there were barely 1,000 people tuning in for Hex Therapy Live. And then last week, it was a recent record, let's say in the past year. It was one of the most viewed episodes of Hex Therapy Live. So you all liked the one with the thumbnail where it said that we're in the disbelief phase. And I talked last episode about what the disbelief phase is. So today I wanted to make a few more points about what the phase is that happens after that, and that is the hope phase. And it's funny because I put this into Chat GPT-4 like as a way to just generate something to read if needed, and it misordered them. And if you look on the chart that actually exists for the Wall Street cheat sheet, I think I have a copy I can throw up. Well, I have a similar copy. This is the emojis that are similar. And disbelief actually doesn't show up on here, I don't think. But normally it goes depression and then disbelief and then hope. And I see that we may have been in disbelief, like I said, even just last week, disbelief about the price of HEX having gone up and that being like a really cool thing. And then also disbelief about whether PulseChain was ever going to get updated with a newer version of the testnet. And now I think it's safe to say that a lot of us have been going into the hope phase of the market cycle of emotions. But anyway, if you look at the chart, it like cycles back to the beginning. And so typically on the Wall Street cheat sheet version, it ends with disbelief, and then it starts with disbelief, and then it goes to hope, and it it's a little bit unclear. So if the AI was like just reading it, it almost like overlaps a little bit and kind of goes back to the beginning. And so it was putting them out of order, and that was weird to me, but I could see kind of why it would do that. Anyway, so I'll read a little bit of the description here. And there is a survey in YouTube right now to ask people. I'm going to bring up the results of what we have so far to see what phase you all are in. Shout out to everybody who's watching live. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it when you hit the like button and subscribe. So I said, what phase are you in? And there have been 307 people who have voted. That's awesome. 18% said the disbelief phase. 30% said the hope phase. And wow, 53% say the optimism phase. So maybe I was wrong. But look, it's okay, because I wanted to cover them in order as we go through them. And I really think last week we were in disbelief. Now, if you have fast forwarded all the way through hope and on to optimism, hey, that's great. And that's part of the point that I want to make, is that as the price oscillates within the same range, it might make you feel certain emotions that are nearby this category. So most people are not going to feel optimism and depression at the same time, but people feeling hope and optimism at the same time is a transitional state that you could be in. And I'd like to point out that even if we take, let's say, the stages of grief, people can be in multiple stages of grief at the same time. So they aren't fully compartmentalized. And I would compare this market emotion cycle to that. And I would challenge you to think about it as maybe not an all or none phenomenon. And so it could very well be that, like, part of you is in hope and part of you is in optimism. But I like to point this out and do check-ins and ask myself that question regularly, because I think it can inform you on an emotional level. And a part of being effective at emotional management, which means you're controlling your behavior in a way that could help you preserve your wealth and cause you to make smarter financial decisions, and help you with delaying gratification and improving your behavior in all kinds of ways. I think that is, I think that's a really important thing to be able to pay attention to have the awareness by actively asking yourself about what phase, what emotions am I feeling now? So emotional awareness leads to emotional management. So that's why I like discussing this topic, and that's why I think it brings value to you. So thanks for participating in the survey. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and read this description here that Chat GPT-4 helped me with. One, disbelief phase. The disbelief phase occurs after a significant decline in the market, when the market starts to show signs of recovery. I'm going to move my face out of the way so that I'm not seeing myself while I'm reading this. Here we go. During this phase, many investors are skeptical about the sustainability of the market's growth, often because they have experienced recent losses during the preceding downturn. They may view the current rally as a temporary reprieve before another decline, rather than the beginning of a new bull market. As a result, they may be hesitant to invest heavily in the market or make long-term commitments. There you go. Hope phase. The hope phase comes after the disbelief phase, when investors begin to regain some optimism. In this phase, there is a mix of optimism and cautiousness as investors try. Let's see if I can read this. Here we go. In this phase, there's a mix of optimism and cautiousness as investors try to determine whether the upward trend is sustainable or not. They may start to make small investments, testing the waters, and expecting a more extended period of growth. However, the memory of recent decline is still fresh, so there is an underlying sense of caution in the hope phase. Cool. Next, the optimism phase. The optimism phase is the stage following the hope phase, when investor confidence in the market's prospects for continued recovery and expansion increases. As the market continues to grow and gains more momentum, investors become more confident that the worst is over and that the market will continue to improve. This phase is characterized by increased investments, more risk-taking, and a general belief in the market's strength. Investors may fully commit to their investments, expecting a prolonged bull market. In summary, the disbelief phase reflects skepticism about the market's potential for sustained growth. The hope phase represents a mix of cautious optimism as investors try to determine the sustainability of the upward trend, and the optimism phase signifies growing confidence in the market's prospects for continued recovery and expansion. Awareness and management. The exercise that I did myself in trying to translate my own emotional awareness into emotional management when it comes to investing in cryptocurrency. I'm not an investment advisor, by the way. But what I did myself is that I practiced when I was dollar cost averaging into something. In this case, it was HEX. In the early days, in the first year of HEX, I dollar cost averaged in, and I practiced buying on red candle days. I didn't necessarily wait a long time, but some days are green and some days are red, and they're usually mixed up throughout the week. So buying on red days and selling on green days is an exercise that I did. I wasn't hoping to get the best return. I was hoping to get better emotional management. And so for me, it had to be a significant amount of money to me relative to like my weekly paycheck, in the sense that maybe it represented like 2 or 3 hours of my time, right? So like we're not really talking about a huge amount of money. For me, that might look something like $100 or $200 would be like the amount that I was playing around with during this time where I was practicing my emotional mastery. And the reason why I think that helped me on a bigger time frame and a bigger time scale and through bigger ups and downs is because I was able to pair that training that I did of my emotions with information from Richard's calls, everything else I've learned in economics about like why the Coinbase having their IPO was a market top signal that was down to the day. That was the peak in 2021. The CME futures launching in 2019 was the top of, or wait, 2017? Yeah, 2017. That was the top of that bull market. So I still didn't wait 4 years to take profits or to practice buying low and selling high. But just with a small percentage of my total stack, if I had invested $20,000 at that point in crypto, and I was playing with $200 at a time, practicing buying on red days and selling on green days, like again, it was to prepare me for these bigger trends and for the moments when my brain would do a better job of telling me when we were at a market high or a market low. But my emotions would still have to translate into the behavior of being able to sell when you know it's the high, because a lot of people knew it was the top of the market, but they didn't have the emotional management to sell, or they had a mixture of strategies that made it more complicated. And with staking, you know, you could do something where you delay gratification in a calculated way, and that could end up leading to much better returns in the long term, and a longer term where you're exposed to risk. So I hope that that's really helpful, because I think people who probably shaped my understanding of all this, like, is you know, that those are critical things that I've learned. This next part I think is also going to be like really, really good, and this is almost scary and cool how far ChatGPT-4 has come, even since I started testing it a couple months ago. So here's what I asked it. This is insane. And okay, the reason I got into this question is because I had somebody comment to me recently that they really thought it was cool how I explained a T-share in the simplest terms, as a T-share is your share of the future compound interest. Don't have to explain how like inflation comes into it. Don't have to explain like the price only goes up. Like, just the simplest idea is like, yeah, time goes to the right, compound interest goes up. The reason why T-shares go up and to the right is because it's your share of the future compound interest. And that's what the smart contract is designed to reward long-term holders with. Anyway, so I thought it was cool that Adam had asked me explain what a T-share is in simple terms, and then somebody gave me feedback like, hey, that was a really brilliant way that you like explained it so simply. And of course I like didn't explain it so simply in the moment, because it's easy to overcomplicate this, but that's a really simple way to understand it. I asked ChatGPT-4, are you familiar with a HEX T-share? Can you explain it for 5 different levels of education? It responded, yes, I am familiar with HEX T-shares. T-shares, or trillion shares, are a part of the HEX cryptocurrency ecosystem. I'll explain it at 5 different education levels. 1, kindergarten level. Imagine you have a big cake, and you and your friends want a piece of it. The cake is like rewards in HEX, and T-shares are like the tickets that help you get a piece of cake. The more tickets you have, the bigger piece of cake you get. 2, elementary school level. HEX is like a digital money game. In this game, you can save your digital money and get more money in return. T-shares are like special points that help you get more digital money. The more T-shares you have, the more digital money you'll receive as a reward. Middle school, level 3. HEX is a cryptocurrency, which is a type of digital money. It has a unique feature called staking, where you can lock up your HEX coins for a certain period of time to earn more HEX as interest. T-shares are used to measure how much interest you'll earn. The more T-shares you have, the more interest you'll get. Level 4, high school. HEX is a decentralized finance, DeFi, cryptocurrency that offers staking, allowing users to earn interest on their holdings. T-shares are the unit of measurement for your share in the interest pool. The number of T-shares you own determines your share of the daily interest payout. The longer you stake your HEX and the more HEX you stake, the more T-shares you receive, ultimately increasing your potential rewards. College level 5. HEX is a blockchain-based DeFi cryptocurrency with a staking mechanism that incentivizes long-term investment. T-shares represent your proportional share in the global interest pool. When you stake HEX, you receive T shares based on the amount of HEX staked and the length of the staking period. The number of T shares determines your share of the daily interest payout, which includes inflation, penalties from unstaking early, and any bonuses accrued during the staking period. As T share prices increase over time, early stakers benefit from compounding interest and higher return on investment. Well, so it gave the 5 versions there. And then, I got greedy and I said, all right, give me level 6, PhD level. Get ready for this. Smash the likes. HEX is an innovative DeFi cryptocurrency designed to promote long-term holding through a staking mechanism, leveraging game theory and behavioral economics to incentivize participants. T shares, 1 trillion shares, are the fundamental unit representing an individual's stake in the global interest pool. The system employs a dynamic share rate, ensuring that earlier stakers receive more T shares, which helps maintain the value of their stake relative to later stakers. The allocation of T shares is determined by the staking duration, the principal amount of HEX staked, and the share rate at the time of staking. The share rate increases monotonically as the highest return stake is ended, ensuring that future stakers can never achieve a higher return than previous stakers for the same length and amount staked. The number of T shares held by participants dictates their share of the daily interest payout, which encompasses inflation, 3.69% annually, as well as penalties from early unstaking, and bonuses such as longer pays better and bigger pays better. The HEX staking model, with its T-share mechanism, encourages long-term holding by rewarding early adopters and those who stake longer durations. This dynamic fosters a more stable cryptocurrency environment by mitigating the adverse effects of short-term trading and speculation, ultimately promoting sustainable growth and value appreciation in the HEX ecosystem. Now, I mean, that's best case scenario, right? And if you have low liquidity, then you have more volatility. And that's what we're seeing right now at this moment, as the liquidity providers are removing their liquidity so that they don't lose it to the fixer bot. But still, wow, what a great job it did without me training it on what HEX T shares are. And I'm just asking it, and it's learned from all of us and from the internet. Well, this is an episode of Hex Therapy Live. And so, of course, I went to like one more level of greediness, and I wanted to ask it, okay, for level 7, the final level, by the way, how HEX could help mental health and or society at large. All right, level 7, interdisciplinary level. HEX, as a decentralized finance, DeFi cryptocurrency, could have implications on mental health and society at large through its unique staking mechanism that encourages long-term investment and the potential for wealth generation. However, it is essential to approach these implications holistically and consider the wider context of human behavior, economic systems, and psychological well-being. We're off to a good start. Subpoint A, financial security and mental health. HEX's staking mechanism may provide individuals with a sense of financial security as it incentivizes long-term investment over short-term trading. By promoting stability and sustainable growth, HEX can potentially help individuals build wealth over time. This increase in financial security could contribute positively to mental health by reducing stress and anxiety related to financial instability. Part B, promoting long-term planning. The design of HEX encourages long-term thinking and planning, which can foster the development of important life skills. By rewarding long-term investment, HEX may encourage individuals to adopt a more forward-thinking approach in other areas of their life, leading to better decision-making and overall well-being. Part C, philanthropy and social impact. As HEX stakers experience wealth generation, they might be more inclined to engage in philanthropy or invest in social impact projects. The redistribution of wealth through charitable giving can have a positive effect on society, addressing issues like poverty, education, and access to healthcare. Part D, education and financial literacy. The adoption of cryptocurrencies like HEX can lead to increased interest in financial literacy and personal finance management. As individuals gain a better understanding of blockchain technology and decentralized finance, they may become more financially responsible, benefiting society by promoting economic stability and growth. However, it's important to acknowledge the potential risks and downsides. Cryptocurrencies can be volatile, and HEX, like any other investment, carries inherent risks. Additionally, increased focus on financial matters could exacerbate mental health issues for some individuals, such as those prone to addiction or compulsive behavior. In summary, HEX has the potential to positively impact mental health and society by promoting financial security, long-term planning, philanthropy, and financial literacy. However, it is crucial to approach these benefits with a nuanced understanding of individual and societal factors, as well as the risks involved in any investment. I think that was a really well-balanced and cool point. And hey, it's Hex the Ripper. Good to see you there. Chat GPT is all-knowing. That's right. Well, at least it knows about HEX. Let's see. How do we access Testnet V3? You go to Richard's tweet about it. I've still got it. Do I still have it pulled up? Can I go back? I've got it in my notes. I'll drop it one more time because I love that people are getting involved in the testnet. It's a great way to learn. Prepare yourself. I think it's going to be fascinating to see which people swap PulseChain for PulseX and the other way around, and to see what the demand is there. I can't wait to see it. I don't know how to trade it. I have sacrificed more for PulseChain than PulseX. And I know there are more people who probably sacrificed for PulseX than PulseChain. So I would love to get a really great rate and balance out my stacks. But look, I'm the guy who's making a smart contract to be able to time lock your coins so you don't screw it up by watching the price go up too much and then you sell before it goes up way more. So I'll remain in disbelief. I'll only be hopeful after we break the all-time high. I think a lot of people will be euphoric at that point, but everybody will be different in how they react emotionally, and that's all valid for sure. There are people who got in only at the all-time high. There aren't many people like that, but there are some that I know of and some that I don't know of. How far back do I need to go here? Let's see. I hope we get a wallet coin. Yeah, RH retweeted a something for people who live in the US so that you can connect to Congress app. It takes very little time and it's super important. I would also recommend people do that. let me try to find. Yeah, here we go. I found it. I'll share it here. Yeah, use the power of democracy to set crypto free. Can you explain buy and burn mechanism on PulseX? There's a fee whenever you do a swap, and that fee gets paid in whatever token you're swapping, and then goes into some mechanism where it ends up adding liquidity to the PulseX price, and that allows the bot to buy it and then destroy the PulseX token so that only PulseX becomes deflationary, so that the total supply only goes down as more people sell to the buy and burn bot and more volume goes through the exchange. Offering promotion on my channel. Well, I don't need that. I think paying a middleman to do something that we should be all volunteering to do ourselves is not the way I want to go about my channel. And this channel isn't really for new people anyway. It's for people who are, I mean, yeah, it's advanced. I'm not going to try to water it down, and you all know what it is. So swapped all my PLS X for PLS early and managed to increase my PLS balance. Good job playing with the testnet there. Has HEX ever been targeted by the SEC? No, you're misinterpreting what HEX staking is. It's not a certificate of deposit. That's a metaphor. And the law is not concerned with like, I mean, the law is concerned with like what something looks like, but when you look at the technical aspects of blockchain, you're publishing numbers onto a database. That's really strongly considered free speech, and you're doing the work yourself in HEX. It's not happening through any central agency. And so HEX is not a project. It's a product that was launched, completed, and it doesn't require anybody's help to keep going. It's different than all these other staking mechanisms that you send your coins to a third party, to a middleman, and then they try to manage it for you and make a return. That's what the majority of crypto is when it comes to staking. HEX mints new coins. You don't even really time lock. I talk about time locking because it has the same effect, but on the technical side of HEX, you actually burn your coins when you stake them, and then you get basically a mathematical proof that allows you to mint new HEX in the future that's equal to the amount that you're owed based on your principal and your rewards and your penalties. And so even a certificate of deposit is where like you're taking money and you're giving it into a pool of the government or a bond issuer, and then you come back expecting like dollars in the future. Well, HEX isn't letting you expect dollars. All it's doing is letting you expect HEX. And HEX being, I mean, if you want to think of it more as like a commodity, that's probably more accurate, but it's not even that, because it's just numbers in a database. It's like the purest form of like math and free speech that you can get. And it doesn't have a central management team. It doesn't have centralization at all. It's just a smart contract that allows people to publish their numbers onto the internet. It doesn't have like a pool where all the HEX is like being collected and then it's being given back out. It doesn't have like where you're thinking you're going to be able to get more Ethereum in the future because somebody's holding on to your Ethereum for you. Like, that's not the case. That's not how it works. That's not how a swap works. When you do a swap, when you buy HEX in the first place, you're paying somebody for the math proof that they have done. And so it's kind of like Bitcoin mining in that sense. And so you can be as concerned as you want to about the SEC because they don't always play by the rules anyway. So like it could very well be that the SEC continues to target HEX, which it's already done. And that's why we saw the all-time low, or not the all-time low, but the recent low of the past cycle was 1.7 cents when the SEC sent notices to individuals, including myself, like asking us to, they sent subpoenas asking for records about whether we had been paid to promote HEX. I've never been paid to promote HEX, and I don't know anybody who has. I intentionally network with people who I believe are doing this on a volunteer basis and out of enthusiasm and free speech and hobby. So can HEX be targeted by the SEC? Yes. Is the SEC acting lawfully and not overreaching? Question mark. What's going on, Hexpedition? Hey, Maddie, did you notice the V3 Block Explorer isn't showing transferred coins correctly? It shows the coins in a MetaMask wallet, but not on the Explorer? I haven't noticed that. It was looking good to me, but I'll take another look now that you said that. I'm probably not going to do it live because we've been going for 2 hours almost, but I'll definitely check it out. Another beautiful day in Mexico. The Explorer might not be done processing the blockchain. Yeah, I wonder if the tokens that you're playing with were like closer to the snapshot. Although I don't like using that term because it gives people a false impression of what the fork is actually going to be like, but that's why you're all here to learn the nuances of it all. Bob says, wifey asked me about how PulseChain was doing during a dinner date. 2 males next to us speaking in Chinese said something that sounded like sacrifice and then June. June mainnet is imminent. I think it'll be out before then unless we run into a problem. Are you saying PulseChain is going to 10,000 KX? I have no idea. I observed earlier that Richard Hart predicted that HEX could 10,000x, and he gave the example of where Ethereum 10,000x from 15 cents, where it wicked down on a certain exchange, might have been Kraken. Most people considered the low to be 30 cents. But apparently Richard believes that Ethereum did trade down at 15 cents at one point. And then we all know that Ethereum had gone up to maybe almost $1,500 during the 2017 peak. And so this was in 2019 when HEX was being launched, like before and during the launch, that Richard made this prediction of what could happen. And for me, yeah, I think it's possible. There have been 4 or 5 cryptocurrencies that have done those kind of returns. And I believe that PulseChain has the potential to be among the top performers. If you look at how HEX did its all-time high, it had to dip from the initial price before it could go all the way up there. So your guess is as good as mine. I certainly wouldn't guarantee anything like that kind of performance. being able to break something down into simple terms is one of your superpowers, Maddie. Hey, I'm glad that some people think that. It's a really positive comment. Thank you, Robert. How can a HEX guarantee 30% APY without inflating the token supply? Well, it does inflate this token supply, but it doesn't guarantee 30%. It depends whether you time lock your coins and how long you time lock them for, and whether you serve all the days of that time lock without ending your stake early, which could eat into your principal. So some people's yield, if they time lock for 15 years and then end their stake after 2 days, their yield would be negative 100%, because all of their principal and all of their rewards up until that point would be distributed to people who kept their word and followed the truth engine in HEX. If you time lock, you need to stick to that. So HEX doesn't guarantee anything except that it will perform the functions that are written in the smart contract. And so there are people, I think still today, but you'd have to check this yourself, who, if they buy HEX and time lock it for the maximum amount of time, that they could still see 30% APY. But that's a dynamic percentage that changes every day based on how many people end their stake early. Because remember, there are people who put less than $100 in, and if they end their stake now, they could get over $100,000 out. So 30% APY, that's paid in HEX terms. That doesn't account for dollar appreciation, because dollar appreciation is not guaranteed by the HEX smart contract. The HEX smart contract is only talking about how many HEX you get rewarded as a part of the new inflation. Just like Bitcoin has new inflation that pays for the security of the network, for people to burn electricity to stop double spends, HEX piggybacks on the security of the Ethereum network to stop double spends, and provides security in the total supply of tokens that can be dumped on the market at any moment, reducing it by causing people or rewarding people to time lock. And then you're not allowed to sell without any penalty, basically. So that it's a really cool model, and it's called the Truth Engine. I'd encourage you to keep asking great questions. Arbitrum dumped 88% today due to an airdrop. Mental note for when PulseChain airdrop launches, a similar thing may happen. Yeah. Well, and if those tokens launched on Ethereum, then they'll get copied over onto PulseChain. And will they drop another 88% on that day? Who knows? But I'm not betting on altcoins in that sense. $3.69% is based on the total supply of HEX, including staked and unstaked coins. And that inflation rate is delayed because you only get your interest at the end of your time lock. And so the 3.69% is distributed over the total number of people who are staking. And all of the 3.69% inflation from the people who aren't time locking, that's paid also to the people who are time locking. So for example, if only 10% of the coins are time locked, then you would 10x the 3.69% because you'd be getting 10 times the rewards. And so that's 36.9% that somebody would be getting. And so, yeah, that's an important point to understand. And if it was like only 1% of the coins were locked, then the 1% would be getting 369% relative to their share of the future compound interest, basically, of the future inflation of the system. But that inflation is delayed. So like the total amount of inflation that we see compared to all the coins that exist, I think last year was like 2% or something, maybe 1.8, because the rest is delayed. Now, then you can get into the point where like maybe the origin address or like maybe the founder owns 90% of the supply and just isn't staking their coins to make the rewards better for people who are time locking, and to be able to kind of adjust the APY according to market conditions or whatever they want. So hopefully that gives you more insight. So the 30% APY is coming from the 3.69% inflation of the total supply, which to the 10% of people who are locked is, relatively speaking, 30% of what they have locked, because they're getting the rewards from all the people who are not time locked. Use testnet and prepare to lose all your money. Moo ha ha ha. That's the vibes Maddie just gave me. Well, hey, I don't like gambling. I just read that it was still indexing. Hopefully it works properly on completion. Hope buy and burn on PulseX also comes back. RH used ALLin knowledge to create HEX. Can HEX really stay relevant up until the first 15-year stake gets unlocked? I don't know. I'll be here to find out best I can. Taylor, hey Maddie. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for being here. Hey Maddie, do you think buy and burn will be added back? I don't know, but I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess no, just because it's like a spicy answer, because I really don't know. So I just want to think outside the box, because I'm sure like everybody else is gonna give you the answer like, oh yeah, it's coming soon. But I would like it if there was some like cool advanced game theory for like why it's been removed, or some like we want to be more regulatory compliant or something. Who knows? I think the odds are it'll be there, but the more interesting answer would be, oh, it's a mystery. Why did we launch mainnet and it wasn't there? And maybe it was part of like the surprise factor of like, oh, everybody's hoping that it'll be there and they're expecting it, but then the traders get wrecked by not knowing. Boom, we're live, because they're still waiting on that. It's an investment product. I mean, a lot of people would say that it's a commodity. In fact, the United States said that it's a commodity from the Commodity Exchange Commission. And then the SEC, they can't make up their mind on what the definition of a security is. They pretend sometimes that everything is a security, except for Bitcoin, and other times, but they can't tell a judge what that really means publicly. And so they're not doing their job, in my opinion, of defining what cryptocurrency is in a consistent manner, or in a manner that is consistent with the rest of the US framework, so that it's not so clear that that's what it is. And if it was so clear, then they could have made it more clear. I am fine. Tired of working 40-hour weeks and still being broke. Hang in there. $50. Hey, thank you so much for the super chat. Moondog, you rock. I want to reiterate, with a healthy dose of respect on top, not watering it down. Definitely advanced. in multiple best ways. Love and light to all. Hey, thank you. That is a really great message. And thank you again for supporting the channel. I appreciate it. Matty is just in his thoughtful space. That's right. That's right. Love the PulseChain hat. Thanks. I believe that we're going to be able to hand them out to the people who go to hexpo.miami or hexpomiami.com. Either one will take you there. Thanks again for these Thursday streams. My pleasure, Algo Ray. I'm glad you look forward to it. I do as well. Yeah, that's weird. It didn't show in the Explorer when you transferred from one wallet to another. I did see something transfer last night that did show up in the Explorer, so that's worth exploring. Let's go. Get rid of these bad Mojo paper hand peeps and move forward. John Doe Crypto. Hey, Maddie. Hey, right back. I think I just accidentally tapped the slider and it snapped from snapped to 50 from 55.55 before sending. Shrug. The message is all that mattered. Yeah, well, thanks. And on I think mobile it does that more often, where it kind of rounds. But 55.55 is completely noted that you were using that magical number. And I would also like to highlight, as I have recently, that the line of the Hex smart contract that is my favorite line out of more than 2,000 lines of code is line 718. And that's the line that says the longest number of days that you can time lock your Hex. It's 5,555. So shout out to Moondog and to the Hex smart contract there. We need the time lock, Maddie, edition for PLS and PLSX. I agree. That's why we've got it working on private testnet, and we're going to get it audited and get it out. When is it releasing? Don't know how long the audit will take, but we're getting there. Was the AM bot that will run on PulseChain run on the testnet? Yes, partially or wholly. We don't know, because nobody wants to be able to game the system, or like this. Richard doesn't want the system to be gamed. Yeah, I've been talking about the buy and burn button being missing. Definitely rewind. Yeah, it's a miracle any of this stuff works. So there's no guarantees in an immutable code on an open market where anything from solar flares to mass human hysteria may occur. But it is based on the Hex inflation minted to stakers model. Thank you for the beautiful content, sir. Hey, my pleasure. So strange to see paper hands at this point. Yeah, well, it's a market as noted above. If PulseChain multiplies my sacrificed amount by 1000x, I will kiss every grandma in my street. Hey, I love that comment. And I'll be crossing my fingers for all the grandmas. I'm ready for Sunwell syndrome. There you go. The OA allocation over time, even per code, and its behavior thus far, I'd say it'd be safe to bet on 3.69% times 2-ish inflation of Hex paid to stakers, even if every single non-OA coin was staked. Interesting. I'm trying to onboard a Jamie and XIE and her cast of friends from Bling Empire who come from billionaire families. Hey, Josh Moore, that's what's up. Get it done. Very cool. Chances of that being the case, an ironically best case for the world, but worst case per individual return scenario is 7-ish% returns without relying on appreciation or volatility. Trade fi or traditional finance would froth. What is testnet good for? I never tried it. For seeing what buttons you can click on and what happens when you click on the buttons. Like to hear your opinion of EHEX versus PHEX. I like them both. I'm not thinking that I'm going to trade those. I see value in both. PulseChain launch strategy. I covered more like my prediction of what we need to see in order to get to launch. There is no single-sided staking. Might just be called something else. That's where I want to see like which ones cause impermanent loss. And what single-sided staking even means. Maddie's the bomb. Priceless content. Thanks a million. Hey, my pleasure. CSC Crypto Social Club. Hex Farmer. Thank you, Maddie. P.S. If you have any people vaguely interested in crypto right now, maybe pitch they could dabble with a pre-fork HEX or ERC20. And if unsure, recoup, originally invest after fork, and play with the house double. Love your answer. Legend. Thanks. It's a unique time in crypto history for sure. Have people had problems with their hardware wallets trying to move some test PLS to a test account? I have a Trezor T and it doesn't let me sign the transaction. I heard one person on Twitter saying that they were having trouble with that. I've been playing around with wallets that are kind of throwaway wallets. So or like they have $20 in them. So I haven't gotten to that level yet. Also for like OPSEC reasons, I don't like playing, and for just security reasons, I would rather play with like a faucet than my actual sacrifice and hardware wallets. But a great question, and you should keep asking. The HEX product also enhances habits by practicing 100% responsibility and authority of oneself, empowering you and affecting all other areas of one's life as the same good practiced habit. I agree. Plus, it doesn't allow others to take away your experience in that habit and growth of awareness in oneself. Mentally, fiscally, and energetically healing. Absolutely. Hey, we covered a lot. It's been over 2 hours, and I hope that this was helpful. If you didn't watch it all, definitely rewind because this was a good one. And thank you all for being here. Let me see. As we wrap up here, what are my final thoughts? I was in disbelief last week. And I'm sure that I will be experiencing some disbelief when PulseChain actually launches. But there's a growing sense for myself, and I think for others, of hope and optimism. And those are the other two stages of the Wall Street cheat sheet that we talked about earlier in this episode. We also talked about like my observations regarding the PulseChain testnet, what's working, what's missing, and what to look for going forward, and answered all your questions and so on and so forth. Even got ChatGPT-4 involved. So, and we broke down in 7 different education levels what a T-share is. Spoiler alert, it's your share of the future compound interest in the system. So, and I even saw that there were some people who don't seem to know or like HEX very much who were commenting, and that seems like a win to me because that means that more people are participating. So welcome to anybody who isn't quite sure about HEX yet. If you go to my YouTube playlist that is at the shortcut hexcontract.com, you can see 3 explanations of HEX in just 10 minutes. And then if you go to allmylinks.com/allin, you can get your hardware wallet. You can see all the different things I'm involved with. You can follow my Telegram, where I have 1,000 people there who are getting basically daily updates from me on my progress in making a smart contract. Well, getting to market with the smart contract that we developed that allows you to undo a hack and time lock any ERC or PRC20 token. So that's been thrilling to have that so close. And then go to hexpomiami.com to check out the tickets, the final week or multiple weeks that I'll be selling those tickets before I cut off the availability of them, because I'm going to be printing t-shirts and doing a special surprise for people who are ready to go with that. So that's going to be our Hex meetup on May 18th to 20th at the Bitcoin conference. With that being said, stake and publish and whatever else you're doing, do it wisely, play with the testnet wisely, get your hardware wallet set up, and take your security in a wise fashion. And until next time, peace out.
It's from ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Big videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Maddie Allen's got that covered. Does emotional, feel good, mind management, emotion stuff like as his gig, because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like, he helps heal people.